All right, and we do want to get you an update on Hurricane Melissa right now. We've been keeping a close eye on that. The hurricane slammed into Jamaica this afternoon as one of the strongest hurricanes on record in the Atlantic. Roads are washing away, entire communities are at risk, and at least 7 deaths have already been reported. Meteorologist Kit Thomas joining us now with an update on the storm and the reports coming in. Kit, this has been incredible to watch from a meteorological perspective. Just a classic hurricane, but so devastating to know how the impacts are already coming in.
Yeah, and the island of Jamaica, even though it's in the Caribbean, it's never actually seen a Category 5 landfall. The only one that came close was back in the 1980s. But the Category 5 storm made landfall near New Hope on the southern coast of Jamaica. And of course, that brought quite a bit of strong winds, extreme storm surge, and torrential rainfall across the island. Rescue crews are on standby as officials urge residents to stay inside.
Right now, what we're seeing is officials telling everyone right now to hunker down.
The hurricane intensified quickly over the warm Atlantic waters, creating these catastrophic conditions, and it put it on the record books among the strongest hurricanes ever recorded. Hurricane Allen has had 190 mile per hour winds. That was back in 1980, but now Melissa ties with 4 other storms with 185 mile per hour winds, the second fastest ever recorded in the Atlantic, and it also ties the 1935 Labor Day hurricane for the second lowest pressure actually the lowest pressure ever recorded at landfall. Now, Hurricane Melissa currently is a Category 4 storm now, so it has weakened. Good news, but it has brought that Category 5 winds all the way across the island of Jamaica. So that made landfall, like I said, across the southwestern part of the country. And it's been interacting with some of the mountains there, and that has been weakening the storm. Now, is it going to have any impacts to the U.S.? Fortunately not. It's actually going to be kept at bay due to 2 jet streams here, the polar and the subtropical, both merging across the southeastern U.S. and acting as a shield, directing the hurricane well out to sea. It's going to stay offshore, though it is going to pose a risk for the island of Bermuda as it goes that direction. Here's a look at the forecast. It's still expected to be a Category 4 hurricane overnight tonight, making landfall in eastern Cuba. It'll impact the Bahamas as well, and that continues on into the open Atlantic. Of course, it has had a devastating impact. We're still getting a lot of information in and still waiting for a lot of information as Jamaica is likely going to be cut off from a lot of communications for a lot of these communities in the rural parts of the island. Trevor?
Yeah, so tough to see that island affected by a hurricane, almost double the size of the actual island, and a very tough situation for those folks. Of course, our thoughts go out to them. Here in Memphis.
Hurricane Melissa is now a Category 3 storm with up to 125 mile per hour winds after bearing down on Jamaica. The Caribbean island experienced its most powerful storm in recorded history with strong damaging winds and catastrophic flooding. Now, the hurricane made landfall this afternoon and is now heading towards eastern Cuba, where authorities are racing to move some 500,000 people to higher ground tonight. All airports shut down, leaving many tourists now stuck, forced to ride out the storm. Jamaica's prime minister has declared the country a disaster area. And here to speak more to the impact of Hurricane Melissa is meteorologist Kit Thomas. You've been tracking it. So, yeah, we see that it's gotten a little weaker now, which is
weaker, but still a major hurricane. Even at Category 3 strength, it can still do a lot of damage. It's moved on from Jamaica, but now Cuba is up next.
And I know we talk a lot about torrential downpours, but the winds here are what's really significant. Is that right?
Yeah, the winds were a record-setting for landfall, tying a record, in fact. But the rain is one thing that sometimes is the silent thing. So even what you're saying, if it was more the winds, right? Well, rain can be an incredibly major impact, especially when we're talking 30 to 40 inches of rainfall.
Of course, of course. All right, well, let's get right to it, Kate.
And on infrared satellite, we've seen the eye of the hurricane beginning to reopen. As it made landfall as a Category 5, The land interaction started to cover up the eye with some of the clouds in the upper levels, and so it started to get a little more obscured and slightly disorganized. That's why it weakened, but now we're starting to see the eye open back up there, so we might see it actually intensify a little more in the next hour. Current winds are at 125 miles per hour. Pressure is down to 950 millibars. Remember, it had a pressure under 900. It got all the way down to 892, which ties it with the Labor Day hurricane for the strongest, lowest pressure landfall ever recorded. Of course, for winds, it's tied with 4 others at 185. Hurricane Allen had the fastest winds of any Atlantic hurricane. But of course, a lot of people are asking, is this going to impact the U.S.? Fortunately not. In fact, our weather system that's giving us rain and keeping us cold. You see that swinging in there? That combined with the subtropical jet stream is keeping it well away from the U.S. Of course, it's going to also push it towards the Bermuda area, but it will stay offshore of the United States over the next couple of days and eventually weaken into a remnant low. Meanwhile, back at home, we're just stuck under that upper level low we saw. Very cold temperatures are expected over the next couple of days. We haven't seen much range in our temperatures the last 48 hours, really. We're still in the 50s. Those clouds act as a blanket overnight, keeping us slightly warmer, but prevent us from warming up during the day. Right now around the area, most of us are in the 50s, with one exception there. Clarksdale still hanging on to 60 degrees this evening. We're going to stay about that temperature overnight tonight. Visibility is also reduced a bit, some from rain, some from low-lying clouds around the area. We might see some fog once again. You can see this upper level system, a big low here, bringing in some of that rainfall across our area. Tracking out some of the rain around the region right now, we've got some pretty heavy rainfall coming out of Arkansas. We've got some right there between Lee County, headed into Tunica County, headed right up into Shelby County as well. We've got a line of some showers there south of Millington, headed right into downtown and southwest Memphis. And also some pretty broad, moderate rainfall coming out of parts of Poinsett County into Mississippi County. That'll be moving into Tipton County over the next couple of minutes here. Light rainfall across northwestern Tennessee, not a whole lot happening up there. And northern Mississippi, just some scattered showers, more heavy rainfall out there towards Alcorn County around the Corinth area. Overnight tonight, we're still going to have some very heavy rainfall, probably past midnight as that cold front is swinging through. Then we'll see another wave of rain as we head through the day tomorrow. Remember, it's going to be pretty breezy through the day, so it's going to make it feel maybe miserable for some of us if you don't like the cold and dreary days out there. A high only around 56 degrees, mid-50s across the area. So it is going to be a shock to the system compared to early October. Remember, early October, we had highs in the 80s. It was hot. Now we're starting to feel more like fall. We've really turned the switch of fall through the month over the last couple of weeks here. 59 for the high on Thursday. We're slowly inching back up. We'll get back up into the 60s there by Friday. We'll linger in the low 60s through the weekend. A little more sunshine though, so at least it'll be that. Now, of course, Friday is Halloween. We are going to be seeing those temperatures cooling back into the 50s past sunset if you're getting out for trick-or-treating. So definitely bundle up. It will be a chilly Halloween. Hurricane Melissa is now up to a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 130 miles per hour. That is the threshold of a Category 4. So it has certainly accelerated as it's left Jamaica behind, now over some very warm waters just between Jamaica and Cuba, and it's likely to make landfall within the next several hours. The pressure is the same, about 950 millibars. This is the latest update, and we'll likely see further updates as it comes in to Cuba. Now, looking at the record books, we go back to Hurricane Allen. This was back in 1980, had 899 pressure and 190 mile per hour winds. That was the strongest winds it had, but it didn't make landfall. The Labor Day and Melissa hurricanes here both made landfall at 185 miles per hour. So those are the strongest landfalling hurricanes with the lowest landfalling pressure. Of course, Wilma in 2005 had the lowest pressure of all time. Now, we are not going to see anything from Melissa. Our upper level low that's swinging in right now is actually going to kick it off towards the east with the polar jet and the subtropical jet acting as a double barrier to keep it away from the United States. It'll stay offshore over the next couple of days here. Now, that upper low is bringing us into the cooler range, well below average by 10 to 15 degrees, especially as we head into tomorrow. Current temperature is 56 degrees. Tunica right now at 58, Batesville at 59. It's pretty chilly out there. Clarksdale already down to 59 degrees. It was at 60 about an hour ago, so we're all starting to cool down. Now, visibility is going to be a bit of an issue tonight. Some fog and the heavy rainfall, of course, a bit of a mix there on those readings. Looking at the satellite and radar, you can see that wide, very broad counterclockwise rotation of this upper level low. And that's also going to be bringing in much cooler temperatures as we get into tomorrow. Looking at radar, we've had some scattered showers out here across eastern Arkansas. A little bit of heavier rain up towards parts of Poinsett County, just moderate rainfall. The heaviest rain starting to move into western Tennessee this evening. Osceola, the Brownsville area getting some heavy rainfall into Fayette County. And then right here from Shelby County into DeSoto County, likely moving into the Byhalia area here within the next few minutes. Now, looking at the forecast, we're going to see the winds really start to shift as the cold front swings through the area. And then as we go through the overnight into early tomorrow, the low pressure on the surface begins to pivot right here across the Mid-South. And that's going to lead to us getting some decent rainfall. We could see some places 1.5 to 2 inches of rain. Others of us a little less than an inch, but still good rain that we definitely need with the drought that we've had through the summer and fall. Look at your 7-day forecast. Temperatures in the 50s for the next couple of days here. 56 degrees as the high on Wednesday, 59 on Thursday. Then Friday morning, we'll get the full brunt of that cold air, a low of 43 degrees. We'll warm up with the sunshine. We'll get back into the 60s. We'll stay in the 60s the next few days, but Sunday morning could still be quite chilly then as well. As we look into the extended outlook, it's starting to see those temperatures getting back into the mid-60s there Monday and Tuesday. Maybe by next week, the middle of next week, we'll start to see some of those temperatures creeping up closer to the upper 60s, maybe near 70 across some of northern Mississippi. But overall, a pretty chilly week here ending up the month of October.